This is the context, and everybody else provides the content. So we're inviting organizations, big organizations and investment bankers and VCs and companies to make goals in the next 4 years by 2/14/14 that blow away all the problems we have on the earth. And we're inviting individuals to do the same. We've got all these amazing internet geniuses working on the website of websites that will actually, when you sign up, kind of guide you through the journey of the next 4 years, along with millions, hopefully billions of people. John Love is in charge of building the coalition of organizations. He's now working with people in 10 countries to get this beginning to roll out. It's not going to be launched like you launch a presidential campaign or something. It'll get rolled out as it gets developed and as more and more people participate. It's actually, we're working on what it is that it is. If you have questions about it, Neil Rogan and John Love and I will do what we can to answer them. But part of what it needs to be is something that everybody's creating. And you're on the inside of the inside before it's actually really launched. So we want your both blessing and hopefully your buy-in, because if you look at what you could achieve in the next 4 years, what your company could achieve in the next 4 years. How many schools can Cynthia build in Africa, for example? What can Diane Morrison, who works with executives, do to shift their businesses, or help them look to shift their businesses in a way that they're doing business in a way that's consistent with a sustainable, just, fulfilling world? And when we say change the dream, what we really mean is to bring forth, this is the mission of the symposium, bring forth an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, and socially just human presence on this planet. The scientists who we met with at this lab said the most cool thing to me, and I just want to share it with you. He said, I've been studying the Renaissance. Because if you think about the Dark Ages, you know, we were burning women as witches who had an herb garden, and the horrors of the Dark Ages. Life was really, really, really terrible. And then there was the Renaissance. How did that happen? And in the studies of the Renaissance now, looking back, it was really 200 people who fomented the Renaissance. Artists and scholars and academics, 200 people only. And their thinking, their innovative thinking, outside the box, transformational thinking, was matched by the invention of the printing press. And so the Renaissance occurred. And your life and my life are different than they would have been because of the Renaissance. We are still impacted by that transformation. And it was only a 25-year period that 200 people, along with the printing press, produced the transformation of the world as we knew it at that time in Europe. Al Gore has written a spectacular book, which I recommend, called Our Choice. But I'm just going to read an excerpt of it to leave you with this. He says, not too many years from now, a new generation will look back at us in this hour of choosing and will ask one of two questions. Either they will ask, what were you thinking? Didn't you see the entire North Polar ice cap melting before your eyes? Didn't you see the seasons failing? Didn't you care? Were you numb? Or they will ask instead, how did you find the moral courage to rise up and solve a crisis so many said was impossible to solve? We must choose which of these questions we want to answer, and we must give our answer now, not in words, but in actions. The answer to the first question, what were you thinking, is almost too painful to write. We argued among ourselves. We didn't want to believe it was really happening. We waited too long. We had so many other problems crying out for our attention. I know this is of little comfort, but we did try, and we're so, so sorry. The second question, how did you solve it? How did you find the moral courage to face the greatest challenge any generation had ever faced? Is the answer I much prefer to give. The turning point came in 2009. The year began well with the inauguration of a new president who immediately shifted priorities to focus on building the foundation for a new low-carbon economy. The resistance to these changes, especially by corporations and big business, was fierce and ferocious. But the truth about the global emergency gained ground by the beginning of 2010. The evidence presented by the scientists accumulated, slowly at first, but then a few of the opponents the big ones of change, began to change themselves. Whatever happened, it made a powerful difference when these former opponents became passionate advocates for a new direction. The momentum shifted completely about the middle of 2010. One by one, others joined in a powerful consensus that we had to act boldly and quickly and act together on this planet as never before. At the end, sorry, I'm going to skip that part. All over the world, as awareness of the climate crisis grew, people concerned about your future found ways to put pressure on their leaders. Hundreds of thousands, then millions of grassroots networks engaged of all kinds. Although leadership came from many countries, once the United States finally awakened to its responsibility, it reestablished the moral authority the world has come to expect from the United States of America. The most important change that made this transformation possible is something that is hard to describe in words. It was transformation. Our way of thinking changed. The earth itself began to occupy our thoughts. Somehow it became no longer acceptable to participate in activities that harmed the integrity of the global environment or harmed the integrity of one another. I know we waited too long. I wish we'd acted sooner. But the outlook for your future and your generation is now bright. The wounds we inflicted on the atmosphere and one another and the ecological systems are now healing. It seems ironic now, looking back, that our commitment during that great transformation to a low-carbon economy was what restored economic prosperity after the economic crisis. Once the world embarked on the journey to heal our world and save your future, tens of millions of new jobs, including whole new professions, whole new industries, began to emerge. I ask only one thing of you in return for what we have done on your behalf. Pass on to your children the courage and resolve to act boldly and wisely whenever the future is at risk. You will be challenged, as we were, and we were challenged deeply. But I know that you will not fail those who come after you as we did not fail you. The choice is awesome and potentially eternal. It is in the hands of the present generation, a decision we cannot escape, a choice to be mourned or celebrated through all the generations that follow, a choice that requires courage, commitment, transformation, and love. That's it. Thanks.